and a very warm welcome to Midday Prime. Over the next 1 hour, we'll bring you all the stories and updates from India and the world. We will update you about the happenings in the world of business and sports, and we'll get you some interesting stories that are making headlines. But first up, the big news at this hour. Centre moves a resolution for abrogating Article 370 and the Jammu and Kashmir Reorganisation Bill in Lok Sabha. Home Minister Amit Shah asserts that Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and Aksai Chin are part of Jammu and Kashmir. Amit Shah dismisses opposition's charge on introduction of the bill and resolution, adds Kashmir is an integral part of India, says nobody can stop him from introducing a resolution on Kashmir in Parliament. Amit Shah says that the UT of Jammu and Kashmir will have an assembly with the Chief Minister and MLAs. It says the Narendra Modi government fulfilled long-standing demand for giving Union Territory status to Ladakh. Army top brass chairs meeting of the core group of intelligence and security agencies at Srinagar reviews operational readiness to meet any contingency. Army says necessary security arrangements in place to ensure peace and security. A 5-judge constitution bench commences day-to-day hearing in the Ayodhya dispute case in the Supreme Court. Apex Court asks Nirmohi Akhara to confine its arguments to the civil dispute. CJI Ranjan Gogoi says hearing or the arguments will not be curtailed in any manner. A top focus this afternoon. After a historic day in Rajya Sabha, the Council of States, it was the turn of the House of People, that is the Lok Sabha, to debate 4 provisions or proposals related to Jammu and Kashmir. Union Home Minister Amit Shah moved the motion for the debate in the House. The first speaker was the leader of Congress party in Lok Sabha, Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary. He stirred controversy by seeking a clarification on the definition of internal matter in the context of Jammu and Kashmir. He quoted the example of UN Military Observer Group. In reply, the Home Minister asked the Congress party to clearly state whether it considered Jammu and Kashmir to be an integral part of India and if the party believes UN has any mandate in the matter. Amit Shah then went on to explain the logic behind his assertion.
सदन ने नेता ने एक मामला उठाया कि मैं जो बिल और संकल्प लेकर आया हूं इसके लिए सदन क्या अधिकृत है या नहीं। सबसे पहले मैं स्पष्ट करना चाहता हूं कि जम्मू और कश्मीर भारत का अंग है, अभिन्न अंग है। इसके बारे में कोई कानूनी या संवैधानिक विवाद नहीं है। इसकी स्पष्टता भारत के संविधान और जम्मू कश्मीर का जो संविधान बना था उस वक्त, ये दोनों संविधान में बहुत क्लैरिटी के साथ की है। जम्मू कश्मीर ने भी इसको स्वीकार किया है कि वो भारत का अभिन्न अंग है। भारत के संविधान में अनुच्छेद 300 से 370(1) सी में जम्मू कश्मीर को आर्टिकल 1 के सारे प्रोविजन अप्लाई करते हैं। अनुच्छेद 1 में क्या है? इंडिया दैट इज भारत शैल बी ए यूनियन ऑफ स्टेट। राज्यों का लिस्ट दिया है, उसमें 15वें नंबर पर जम्मू एंड कश्मीर स्टेट इसका उल्लेख है। इससे प्रस्तावित होता है कि ये जम्मू और कश्मीर भारत का अभिन्न अंग है और इसके लिए कानून बनाने के लिए ये संसद, हमारी सबसे बड़ी पंचायत, पूर्णतः कॉम्पिटेंट। जम्मू कश्मीर के संविधान में भी इसकी स्पष्टता है।
Moving the resolution for abrogating some provisions of Article 370 and the Jammu and Kashmir Reorganisation Bill 2019, Amit Shah asserted in Lok Sabha that Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and Aksai Chin are part of Jammu and Kashmir and that the Kashmir Valley is an integral part of the country.
कि जम्मू एंड कश्मीर के पीएको को आप भारत का हिस्सा नहीं मानते हो क्या? एग्रेसिव ना हो, जान दे देंगे इसके लिए। क्या बात कर रहे हो आप? एग्रेसिव होने की क्या बात कर रहे हो? जान दे देंगे इसके लिए। कि जब मैं सदन में जब जब जम्मू एंड कश्मीर राज्य बोला हूं, तब तब पाक ऑक्यूपाई कश्मीर और अक्साई चीन दोनों इसका हिस्सा है, ये बात को और हमारे संविधान ने जम्मू कश्मीर की जो सीमाएं तय करी है और जम्मू कश्मीर के संविधान ने जम्मू कश्मीर की जो सीमाएं तय की है, उसके अंदर पाक ऑक्यूपाई कश्मीर और अक्साई चीन दोनों समाहित।
Congress MP Manish Tiwari raised the issue of not consulting the Jammu and Kashmir Assembly before deciding on issues like bifurcation of the state.
धारा 3 ये कहती है कि किसी भी प्रदेश को तोड़ने से पहले, उनकी बाउंड्रीज को चेंज करने से पहले ये अनिवार्य है कि आप उस प्रदेश की जो विधानसभा है, उस प्रदेश की जो विधान परिषद है, उसके साथ आप राय मशवरा करेंगे। आज एक बहुत ही विचित्र स्थिति उत्पन्न हुई है कि जम्मू कश्मीर में विधानसभा है नहीं, जम्मू कश्मीर में विधानसभा को भंग किया है और इस संसद से यह कहा जा रहा है कि आप अपने आप से राय मशवरा करके, आफ्टर कंसल्टिंग योरसेल्फ, you decide on the future of Jammu and Kashmir.
During the debate, Minister of State in the Prime Minister's office, Dr. Jitendra Singh, wondered why the Congress is raising objections to the government resolution to abrogate Article 370, while through this move, the unfinished agenda is being fulfilled.
मुझे हैरत इस बात की हुई कि आपत्ति कांग्रेस को किस बात की है। हम तो उनका अधूरा एजेंडा पूरा कर रहे हैं। पंडित जवाहरलाल नेहरू स्वयं ये कह गए कि ये अस्थायी है, और कई बार उनके आलोचकों का सामना जब उन्हें करना पड़ता था तो वो कहते थे कि आप धीरज रखिए, ये घिसते घिसते घिस जाएगी। दिस इज द एग्जैक्ट फ्रेज यूज्ड बाय पंडित जवाहरलाल नेहरू। अब आप नहीं घिसा सके तो मोदी जी और अमित शाह घिसा रहे हैं, तो आपको तो उनका धन्यवाद करना चाहिए।
So that's a look at the government's stand in Lok Sabha. Let's now take a detailed look at what the government stand is on Article 370. It says that terrorism and separatism has been fueled by Article 370 so far. History of bloodshed was there, and Article 370 responsible for deaths of over 41,000 people in J&K. So the government saying that these deaths happened because of Article 370 since 1989. Should a temporary provision extend beyond 70 years, Article 370 protected interests of certain political dynasties is also what the government has been saying. The dynasties have not been known, but we know where the indication is. Ram Manohar Lohia said in Lok Sabha 1964 that integration and uniformity not possible without Article 370. So the government underlining that the SP ideologue Ram Manohar Lohia too wanted abrogation of Article 370. That has happened now, and a temporary provision cannot last for more than 70 years is also a point that the government has been emphasizing. Article 370 did not allow democracy to percolate in J&K, and so democracy compromised because of 370. Grassroots democracy was hurt as a result of that, because elections to panchayats and to urban local bodies could not be held. 73rd and 74th constitutional amendments don't apply to J&K because of Article 370. This is a point that was emphasized by Union Home Minister Amit Shah, saying that now with the abrogation or partial abrogation, as you would like to put it, of Article 370, those amendments will apply. Rights of 40,000 panchs and sarpanchs breached for 40 years, and he said that only under the Modi government were elections held and these panchs and sarpanchs finally got their rights. West Pakistan refugees did not get citizenship because of Article 370, so the West Pakistan refugees still don't have permanent residency rights or citizenship rights of Kashmir, even though they've been staying there since before 1954. Former Prime Ministers Manmohan Singh and I.K. Gujral became PM because they were Pakistan refugees but were not eligible to become even councillors in J&K. So they could become the Prime Minister but were not eligible to become the councillors because of Article 370. So that's more on the government stand. 370 stalled development of J&K. Corruption took root because of Article 370. He gave details of the kind of money that the centre has sent to Jammu and Kashmir and how on the ground there has been simply no improvement in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Besides that, J&K remained a poor state because of Article 370. That's what the government has been emphasizing, that poverty took root, corruption took root because of Article 370, and which is why 370 must go to usher in development. No improvement in J&K despite 2.77 lakh crore rupees being spent by the centre. So the government gave this estimate of the kind of money that the centre has given all this while to J&K, and yet no development has happened. Article 370 responsible for poor healthcare in J&K because hospitals were not ready to set up business there. They were not allowed to purchase land, and so healthcare as well as education took a beating. Right to education did not apply to J&K because of Article 370. So right to education applies to the whole of country except to Jammu and Kashmir because of Article 370, and once that goes, then right to education will also apply to J&K. Article 370 is anti-women, anti-tribals and anti-Dalits because the rights of SCs, STs, OBCs were breached in a manner because of Article 370. The rights that they got outside J&K are not those rights that they got in J&K, and now all that is set to change. And integration versus isolation, this is a kind of a contrast that the government presented. Logic of Article 370, protecting culture and language of J&K does not stand. So he simply said that do states that do not have Article 370 not protect their cultures and languages? What has happened to the cultures and languages of these states? Why should that argument be made that Article 370 is needed to protect cultures and languages of J&K? Other states that are ceded have protected identities without 370, questioning the logic of being given by the opposition that what will happen to the language and culture of J&K if Article 370 goes. Bar on purchase of land by non-permanent residents hurt tourism in J&K. So hotel industry could not set up a shop there because they simply could not purchase land, and that is why tourism could not rise to the extent that it should have. Bar on purchase of land by non-permanent residents meant poor industrial development in J&K, and because non-permanent residents could not buy land, industrial development also took a hit. Industries were not set up there. Maximum value of land in J&K is 30,000 rupees per acre compared to minimum value of 10 lakh rupees per acre in the rest of India. That's because there weren't much demand for land in J&K because only the permanent residents could buy land there, and which is why there is so much disparity if you look at the value of land in J&K and value of land outside Jammu and Kashmir in the rest of the country. Besides that, let's now take a look at the implications of abrogating Article 370. We're talking about partial abrogation of Article 370 here because Clause 1 remains. It talks about the definition of the relationship between India and J&K. So now J&K has a separate constitution, but J&K will not have a separate constitution, Indian constitution, to apply to J&K as well. So those changes will set in once the Lok Sabha passes the resolution and the notification takes place in the official gazette. Besides that, too, a lot has changed. There will not be a separate constitution. Like we said, J&K has two flags, one for India and one for the state. What will happen after the partial abrogation of Article 370 is that J&K will not have a separate Indian flag. Indian tricolour to be the only flag that will be valid in Jammu and Kashmir. Non-permanent residents can't purchase land there as of now. What happened now after the partial abrogation of 370 article is that people from other states will be eligible to purchase land and properties, and thus that will give a push to socio-economic development as a whole, to travel and tourism industry, to education and healthcare sector. Non-permanent residents can't permanently settle in the state as of now. That's because of Article 35A, which is in a way a subset of Article 370, which will also go with the partial abrogation of Article 370. After the partial abrogation, non-permanent residents can permanently settle in the state. So any non-permanent resident, people from outside the state, can permanently settle now in J&K, which will soon be a union territory. Now dual citizenship applies in J&K, later single citizenship to apply in J&K. So only single citizenship will apply in Jammu and Kashmir, as is the case with the rest of the country. Dual citizenship is set to go with the partial abrogation. Kashmiri woman loses Kashmiri citizenship if she marries a man from any other state of India. That's what the status is now because of Article 370. Later, what will happen is that Kashmiri woman to retain her rights if she marries a man from any other state of India, which is the case in the rest of the country as well. So Kashmiri women will not be losing their rights. So that discrimination that Kashmiri women have faced over decades will now end. Not a crime to insult India's national flag or national symbols in J&K as of now, but soon that will be a crime. Insulting India's national flag or national symbols will be a crime in J&K as that integration of Jammu, Kashmir and Ladakh becomes complete with the Union of India with the abrogation of Article 370. Article 360, financial emergency, was not applicable. As of now, it is not applicable in Jammu and Kashmir, but once that partial abrogation takes place, Article 370, which deals with financial emergency in the Union of India, will also be applicable to Jammu and Kashmir. So a lot of changes will set in as a result of the historic decisions taken by the government. RTI and RTE, that is right to information and right to education, not applicable to J&K as of now. But both these legislations, RTI and RTE, will be applicable to Jammu and Kashmir once the partial abrogation of Article 370 takes place. And that will give a boost to education, that will give a boost to transparency. Okay, let's go across now to Lok Sabha, where Prahlad Patel is speaking.
But nevertheless, I'll repeat, sir, nevertheless, the fact remains that this area is the most extraordinary area in the world so far as the terrain is concerned. At the rate, no tree grows anywhere in this wide area, there may be some shrubs. Tyagi retorted, pointing out to his own bald head. No hair grows on my head. Does it mean that head has no value?
Yes.
This was question posed to Pandit Nehru, sir, Pandit Nehru.
That is the part of parliament debate.
That is a part of the parliament debate. I am placing it before, sir. If they want to challenge, let them challenge, sir.
And both were bad.
And sir, 1 minute. And त्रासदी जब तब हुआ, जब नेहरू जी ये बोला, after losing lakhs of kilometer land to China, जब नेहरू जी ये बोला ना, तब त्रासदी हुआ, सर. अभी त्रासदी नहीं हुआ रहे. अभी कश्मीर और घाटी एरिया का डेवलपमेंट होगा, सर. डेवलपमेंट होगा. हम ठीक करें. हिस्टोरिकल ब्लंडर इन लोगों ने जो किया था, वो हम ठीक करें, सर. ट्रेजेडी तब हुआ. अभी हमने और एक त्रासदी हुआ, सर. 370 ऐड किया. 370 ऐड करने के बाद यूएनए को ले चले गए, सर.
वो त्रासदी है,
सर. The Indian soldiers were ready to take back the Kashmir. They were ready to go up to Lahore. But Nehruji announced on through the Akashvani, All India Radio. That was त्रासदी, sir. Not Narendra Modi ji, who has brought this historical change under the leadership of Sri Amit Shah ji. That is not the त्रासदी, sir. त्रासदी when Pandit Nehru declared, sir. And त्रासदी जब हुआ, जब हमारा सैनिक जीत रहे थे, तब सीज फायर हुआ ना, वो त्रासदी है, सर. लेट अस अंडरस्टैंड दिस हिस्टोरिकल फैक्ट, सर. इसलिए मैं बता रहा हूं, सर, अभी भी टाइम है, सर. और जूनागढ़ का और हैदराबाद का जिक्र करते हुए उन्होंने कहा, मनीष तिवारी जी, इवन अधीर रंजन जी कहा, मनीष तिवारी और अधीर रंजन जी कहा, whatever was there, it was done by either, as far as Hyderabad is concerned and Junagadh is concerned, it was the Nehru who did it. Sir, let me bring the historic thing on the record, sir, today. When police action took place, initially Nehru was not even aware that police action is going to happen. This was solely taken, the decision was taken by Sardar Patel, sir. What these people are talking, sir. And also, sir, and if they are fond of so much of Sardar Patel, even in the entire this Delhi and surrounding Delhi itself, more than 250 projects or grounds or squares have been named after Nehru, Indira Gandhi, Rajiv Gandhi, not even one name of Sardar Patel, sir. This is how they have treated Sardar Patel, sir. So, sir, Hyderabad में अगर नेहरू के हाथ में.
So there you heard Parliamentary Affairs Minister Prahlad Joshi speaking in the Lok Sabha, articulating government's position on the historic decisions taken by the Union of India with regard to Jammu and Kashmir. We were explaining to you the stand of the Government of India on abrogation of Article 370. Now let's take a look at the J&K Reorganization Bill 2019 that seeks to bifurcate the Jammu and Kashmir state into 2 union territories. So Jammu and Kashmir state will cease to exist soon. It'll be now a union territory with a legislature, J&K to be a union territory with a legislature, whereas Ladakh will be a union territory without a legislature. So this distinction is going to be there between Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh. Both hill councils of Ladakh will continue to operate. There are two hill councils in Ladakh. Both of them will continue to operate. The government said that ready to make J&K a state when the situation normalizes. So the government assuring that statehood could be restored once the situation normalizes. J&K may not be a union territory forever with a legislature. Rajya Sabha passes bill by 2/3 majority, while only a simple majority was required for the passage of this bill by Rajya Sabha. We saw that 2/3 majority of Rajya Sabha voted in favor of this bill yesterday. The J&K Reservation Second Amendment Bill 2019, it seeks to apply 10% reservation to economically weaker sections category in Jammu and Kashmir. That's the aim of the J&K Reservation Second Amendment Bill 2019. 10% reservation for poor in government educational institutions and employment will thus come into effect, which is the case in the rest of the country, but it will apply now to Jammu and Kashmir as well. 10% quota for poor in addition to existing reservations in J&K. So 10% quota for poor or the economically weaker sections would be over and above the existing reservations that are there in Jammu and Kashmir. 10% quota for poor to be over and above the 50% reservation cap. So that 10% quota would be over and above the 50% ceiling that is there. 10% quota for EWS category introduced in the rest of the country by 103rd Constitution Amendment that was passed by Parliament. The J&K Reservation Second Amendment Bill 2019 seeks to apply that 10% quota for economically weaker sections to Jammu and Kashmir. Once it is passed by Lok Sabha, it has been passed by Rajya Sabha already. Well, let's now take some perspective. We have with us in the studio a guest, R. Rajagopalan is joining us to share his views on the historic decisions taken by the Government of India with regard to Jammu and Kashmir. Besides, of course, all that happened in Lok Sabha with the Home Minister introducing that resolution that was passed in Rajya Sabha for partial abrogation of Article 370 that ends the quote-unquote special autonomous status that J&K was accorded all this while under Article 370. Well, welcome Mr. Rajagopalan to Midday Prime. Well, what do you make of the kind of arguments that took place earlier in the day with Amit Shah, Union Home Minister, saying that Parliament is well within its rights to legislate on issues relating to Jammu and Kashmir because it is very much an integral part of India. So why raise questions on the competence of Parliament to legislate, and also trying to put Congress in a spot saying that don't you agree that Jammu and Kashmir is very much an integral part of India? Your thoughts on the arguments that took place earlier in the day?
I'm coming from Parliament, madam. I was witnessing what Mr. Amit Shah was speaking from the press gallery of Lok Sabha. Today, the aggressive speech of Mr. Amit Shah took Congress head on, because Congress was referring this Kashmir issue to the United Nations, and Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary spoke something irrelevant things. Sonia Gandhi pulled him up, but at the same time, my understanding, the decision of going for 370 is a major political decision by Mr. Narendra Modi government with the consultation of Mr. Amit Shah. They have taken the timing. You must understand the timing is very important. Why they chose this particular time? Because the military actions are more in some sort of Jammu Kashmir region. Now they wanted to take head on. Once the 370 is such, you have done a very good graphics about this now and then, and also about 370 explanations were there. But at the same time, the decision of the government is a political one. Plus, you must also understand, in another 2 months' time, the Maharashtra, Jharkhand, Haryana are going to polls. With this 370, I am sure Maharashtra, at least BJP and Shiv Sena alliance will sweep the state. It's an electoral decision. This is meant for to have this type of hard decisions, political decisions, Mr. Narendra Modi took. Apart from that, many pros and cons were there. Today, newspapers and television channel debates were all full of this 370. Took the government, the amount of secrecy what they maintained till yesterday morning was superb. Being a newsman, I could not get to know, any of the newsmen in Delhi could not know that the file went to Rashtrapati Bhavan day before yesterday. and day before yesterday President promulgated this type of resolutions, which was a part of Rajya Sabha debate yesterday and which is a part of Lok Sabha debate today. But at the same time, by 7 o'clock when Mr. Amit Shah replies,
Right, Mr.
you are going
Rajagopal.
to have in Lok Sabha today,
Right.
he is going to reply. There you will see it's a political reply is going to be
Okay.
how a couple in Jammu Kashmir, if they
Right.
get married with another person, they
Yes,
cannot
Mr.
buy land. This
Rajagopalan.
type of dual
So
citizenship.
we'll wait and watch what the reply of Home Minister Amit Shah would be in Lok Sabha this evening. Let's get some reactions from various parts of Jammu and Kashmir. We have with us Ashwini, who's joining us from Jammu. Ashwini, are people still in celebratory mode? Is it business as usual? Have shops opened? How is it being received by Jammu?
हाँ मुनमुन, अगर देखें तो जिस तरीके से इतिहास लिखा जा रहा है और जिस तरीके से राज्य के पुनर्गठन की प्रक्रिया जारी है और ये अमली जामा पहनाया जाएगा, ये कहीं ना कहीं लंबे समय से जम्मू संभाग के लिए, जम्मू रीजन के लोगों के लिए एक मनमागी मुराद पूरी होने जैसा है। अभी हम स्थितियां यहाँ की दिखाना चाहेंगे। अभी यहाँ पर धारा 144 लागू हुई है। धारा 144 लागू होने के बाद एहतियातन लोगों ने अपनी दुकानें बंद कर रखी हैं। सुरक्षा के यहाँ पर पुख्ता इंतजाम किए गए हैं, लेकिन आप देख सकते हैं कि लोगों का आना जाना लगातार जारी है। लोग निर्बाध आ जा रहे हैं। जो पब्लिक कन्वेंस है या फिर जो सार्वजनिक परिवहन है वो भी सामान्य तरीके से चल रहे हैं। लेकिन जिस तरीके से आमतौर पर भीड़ भाड़ का ये इलाका होता है, ये सिटी चौक है यहाँ का, बगल में यहाँ का रघुनाथ मंदिर है, काफ़ी यहाँ पर लोगों की आने जाने की तादाद रहती है, लेकिन वो नहीं है इस वजह से कि धारा 144 लागू है और साथ ही साथ एहतियातन अन्य निषेधाज्ञाएं यहाँ पर लागू हैं। लेकिन अगर लोगों के मन की बात करें, लोगों की अपेक्षाओं की बात करें, तो ये 7 दशक से ज़्यादा समय से जम्मू कश्मीर के लोगों में, जम्मू संभाग के लोगों की ये लगता था। बहुत सारी स्टोरीज हम लोगों ने की। लोग ये कहते थे कि एक डिस्क्रिमिनेशन होता था कहीं ना कहीं वैली से, क्योंकि वैली का जो पॉलिटिकल लीडरशिप होता था वो पूरे के पूरे विकास कार्यों से लेकर और सार्वजनिक खर्च का एक लायन शेयर जो है वो घाटी में चला जाया करता था और लोग उपेक्षित महसूस करते थे। एक उपेक्षा का भाव था, एक डिस्क्रिमिनेशन का भाव था, एक ऐसा भाव था कि लोग ये समझते थे कि हम कहीं ना कहीं अपने ही राज्य में अब एक सौतेला व्यवहार हमसे किया जा रहा है। तो लंबे समय से लोगों की ये मांग थी कि इस तरीके की जो स्थितियां हैं वो स्थितियां समाप्त होती 370 आर्टिकल 370 अनुच्छेद 370 की समाप्ति के बाद। और वो अब जब समाप्त हुआ है, जब एक विधानसभा के रूप में, केंद्र शासित प्रदेश के रूप में पुनर्गठन की प्रक्रिया जारी है। लद्दाख की अगर बात करें तो लद्दाख के लोगों को तो बेहद खुशी है। लोग ये बता रहे हैं कि लंबे समय से उनको ये लगता था कि जम्मू और कश्मीर के बीच में लद्दाख कहीं ना कहीं अनदेखा रहता है। तो एक जो अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी जी का नारा था कि जमहूरियत, कश्मीरियत और इंसानियत के दायरे में, क्योंकि जम्मू कश्मीर और विधानसभा भी यहाँ पर होगी,
Right, Ashwini.
प्रदेश होगा, तो जमहूरियत का कहीं ना कहीं पूरी तरीके से विधानसभा यहाँ पर होगी।
Absolutely. So there is reason to celebrate for the people of Jammu, and you give a sense of what people of Ladakh feel about these historic decisions. We have a correspondent joining us from Ladakh. Ramesh Chand is joining us from there. Ramesh, it's a long-standing demand of Ladakh that has been accepted, and their dream of a long time is being fulfilled. Today, Union Home Minister Amit Shah said in Parliament that 2 hill councils of Ladakh will stay and the chairman will get the status of a minister of these hill councils. So all in all, how is this decision being received in Ladakh, and how is the ground situation there? Okay, we'll try and establish our link with Ramesh Chandra once again. But Ashwini, you were telling us about the kind of resentment that was there in the people of Jammu with regard to the Kashmir-centric lopsided development that was taking place in Jammu and Kashmir. There was no equitable development. Are the people of Jammu hopeful that there will be proportional representation in the new J&K Assembly as and when that is constituted, if the Delimitation Commission recommendations are implemented? Because we know that the population of Jammu is bigger than the population of Srinagar, and the population is the criteria for deciding the number of seats in the J&K Assembly.
निश्चित तौर से, और जिस तरीके से राज्य का पुनर्गठन होगा और राज्य के पुनर्गठन के बाद जो विधानसभा की नई संरचना होगी, उसमें लंबे समय से चला आ रहा राजनीतिक भेदभाव भी पूर्णतया समाप्त होने की उम्मीद की जा सकती है। और जम्मू क्षेत्र के लोगों की अपेक्षा हमेशा से रही है। और जो मैं ये कह रहा था कि एक विभेदीकरण का, एक डिस्क्रिमिनेशन की बात उनके दिमाग में रहती थी, क्योंकि मैक्सिमम जो लीडरशिप है और मुख्यमंत्री होने के जो नाम रहे हैं वो सब के सब जो है अधिकांशतया जो है कश्मीर और घाटी से रहे हैं। और सबसे बड़ी बात, जो विकास कार्य रुके हुए थे या विकास कार्यों का जो बंटवारा होता था, जो राजकोष के धन का बंटवारा होता था, लोगों को ये हमेशा दंश बना रहता था कि उसका एक बड़ा भाग और बेजा इस्तेमाल वहाँ पर घाटी में किया जाता है, और कुछ एक जो उनके वेस्टेड इंटरेस्ट हैं वहाँ के पॉलिटिकल लीडरशिप की तत्कालीन और उस समय के, तो ये आक्षेप लगातार लगते रहे हैं। उसके अलावा अगर बात करें तो 370 और 35 से ऐसे क्लॉज थे जो कि खुद जो हमारा भारत का संविधान है उसके लिए डिस्क्रिमिनेटरी प्रोविजंस करते थे। एक बात मैं बताना चाहूँगा मुनमुन की, यहाँ पर स्टेट सब्जेक्ट जिसको कहा जाता है, जिसकी दोहरी नागरिकता की जो बात कही जाती है, वो अब तो समाप्त हो जाएगा, हो चुका है, लेकिन स्टेट सब्जेक्ट की विडंबना ऐसी थी कि 1954 के आसपास कुछ वाल्मीकि समुदाय के सफाई कर्मचारी, सफाई से जुड़े हुए समुदाय के लोगों को यहाँ पर लाया गया, और वो आज तक, चाहे एजुकेशनल क्वालिफिकेशन उनके बच्चों की चाहे जो कुछ हो, लेकिन वो स्टेट में केवल और केवल सफाई कर्मचारी जैसे पदों पर ही एलिजिबल होते हैं फॉर्म भरने के लिए। वो यहाँ के
that discrimination that the Valmiki community faced, which you are referring to, is set to end.
क्योंकि वो स्टेट सब्जेक्ट नहीं थे, तो वो भी दोहरी नागरिकता समाप्त होगी। एक निशान एक विधान, एक संविधान, दो विधान जैसी स्थितियां जो थी वो समाप्त होंगी।
Absolutely. So in a way, discrimination faced by several sections of society, different walks of life in Jammu and Kashmir will end. One instance being the Valmiki community that was told to only do the job of cleaning. They were not given reservation benefits. They will now be entitled to reservation benefits and a life of dignity after the partial abrogation of Article 370. Let's get a sense from Ladakh. Let's go back to our correspondent Ramesh Chandra. Ramesh, how is the ground situation in Ladakh? Is it business as usual? Because we see people behind you, and are the people of Ladakh really relieved with the fact that a decades-old demand has finally been accepted and their hopes are being fulfilled?
Yes, Munmun, it is really a great moment for Ladakh. The people are relieved. In fact, you know, as you are saying, 30 years movement, over 30 years, or rather, if you have to say, it is as good as independence movement for Ladakh people. They always wanted to be free from Kashmir, and now this happened yesterday with introduction of bill, reorganization bill of J&K in Rajya Sabha and today in Lok Sabha. People are very happy, and people are very happy for the fact that they will get some development packages, some development activities without mercy, without any mercy of certain sections who are ruling all the way Jammu and Kashmir, Ladakh, which is part of Jammu and Kashmir till yesterday. So now people are looking forward at the center, under the center's guidance, under the center's development, Sabka Vikas. They are also expecting some Vikas, some development projects, some development activities here. We have some certain youth here who are as old as the UT status movement here. Mr. Exxon Namgyal. Mr. Exxon Namgyal, can you tell us how good is this UT status for Ladakh now, and how you see prospects for youth, especially for Ladakh youth?
सबसे पहले तो मैं प्रधानमंत्री जी का बहुत धन्यवाद करना चाहूँगा, क्योंकि ये यूटी का डिमांड जो है ये बहुत पुराना है, क्योंकि बकुला रिम्पोची जी के समय से मतलब ये डिमांड करते आ रहे हैं। तो कल जो 5 अगस्त जो है ये हमारे लद्दाखियों के लिए ये एक बहुत हिस्ट्री, तो स्पेशली यूथ के लिए तो ये बहुत अच्छा है, क्योंकि यूटी ग्रांट होने की वजह से यहाँ एम्प्लॉयमेंट बढ़ेगी और इन्वेस्टमेंट भी बढ़ेगी और हर सेक्टर में यहाँ डेवलपमेंट होंगे, हमें ये उम्मीद है। और साथ में ये कहना चाहूँगा कि अगर यूटी के साथ हमें भी जम्मू और कश्मीर के तरह यहाँ भी विथ लेजिस्लेचर यूटी ग्रांट किया जाए, तो ये हमारा उम्मीद है कि प्रधानमंत्री जी इस पे गौर करेंगे और आने वाले दिनों में जल्दी ही आप यूटी विद लेजिस्लेटर घोषित करने का हमें ये उम्मीद है। और मैं एक बार और मैं प्रधानमंत्री जी और हमारे गृह मंत्री श्री अमित शाह जी को बहुत बहुत थैंक यू कहना चाहूँगा। जुले
There is the youth voice is that they wanted some legislature along with the UT status so that they could protect their culture, heritage and their lands here, especially Ladakh is a backward area as per the economic status is concerned. they are very rich in culture, but economically they are very backward. That is why they wanted some protection from outside forces who should not be overtaking them. This
Absolutely,
is the,
Ramesh.
voice
Stay with
from
us,
you.
Ramesh. Let's go back to Ashwini. Ashwini was telling us about how people of Jammu are happy with this decision, just like the people of Ladakh are. Get to us some voices from Jammu, Ashwini.
निश्चित तौर से मुनमुन हम यहाँ के लोगों से ही जानना चाहेंगे। हमारे साथ सामाजिक कार्यकर्ता और स्थानीय लोग हैं। ये बताएं किस रूप में इस निर्णय को देखते हैं, 370 का खात्मा, 35A का खात्मा और राज्य का पुनर्गठन।
देखिए, देश के प्रधानमंत्री और गृह मंत्री ने जो हिस्टोरिकल स्टेप लिया है वो इसके लिए बधाई के पात्र हैं।
अंतर कैसे
लेकिन
पड़ेगा, स्थितियां कैसे बदलेंगी, निवेश कैसे आएगा, विकास कैसे होगा?
लेकिन मैं आपसे एक बात कहूंगा कि सबसे बड़े बधाई के पात्र जो हैं जम्मू और कश्मीर राज्य के जो परमानेंट रेजिडेंट हैं, उन्होंने नेशनल इंटरेस्ट में ये बहुत बड़ा सेक्रीफाइस किया है। जो चीजें उनको मिलती थी लेकिन उन्होंने अपने नेशनल इंटरेस्ट में वो देश के साथ आज इस
देश के
घड़ी
साथ
में खड़े हुए।
हाँ, देश के साथ सही मायने में कहीं ना कहीं एकीकरण हुआ। आप ये बताएं कि किस तरीके से आगे का रास्ता आप देखते हैं कि जिस तरीके से यहाँ पर निवेश, जिस तरीके से रोजगार, जिस तरीके से यहाँ के एस्पिरेशंस है, कि सेंस ऑफ डिस्क्रिमिनेशन, लोग ये कहते थे कि घाटी से आप जम्मू का विकास कम हुआ है, वो सब कैसे कम होगा आपको?
देखिए, दोज हु आर एट द हेल्म ऑफ द अफेयर्स, एम्प्लॉयमेंट जनरेट करना जो है ये उनका काम है और वो किस तरीके से, कितनी दूरदर्शिता से इस राज्य के लोगों के लिए एम्प्लॉयमेंट जनरेट कर सकते हैं, ये देखने का विषय है। और ये वक्त बताएगा कि जो हमारे पास इतने बड़े बड़े आईएएस ऑफिसर्स हैं, क्या वो इस आशा को पूरा कर पाएंगे कि नहीं।
आप ये बताएं कि कितनी स्थितियां माकूल होंगी। आपको लगता था, पहले यहाँ के लोगों से हम बात करते थे, कहते थे घाटी में ज्यादा पैसा चला जाता है, ज्यादा वहां पे लीडरशिप होती है, विकास तेज होगा, रोजगार बढ़ेगा,
विकास भी तेज होगा, रोजगार भी बढ़ेगा,
और स्थितियां जो है अलगाववाद की, आतंकवाद की, वो एकदम समूची नष्ट होंगी।
उसमें काफी फर्क पड़ेगा, काफी संभावना है खत्म होने की।
तो आप देख सकते हैं मुनमुन की किस तरीके से लोग आशान्वित थे। और सबसे बड़ी बात यह है कि जो दोहरा विधान था, जो दोहरी नागरिकता जैसी स्थिति थी, जो मैंने इसके पहले बताया कि लाखों की तादाद में लोग ऐसे थे जो कि यहाँ के स्थायी नागरिक होने के, यहाँ के नागरिकता के अधिकार उनको नहीं हासिल थे, यहाँ पे एम्प्लॉयमेंट के राइट्स उनके नहीं हासिल थे, वोटिंग के राइट्स उनके नहीं हासिल थे, और खासतौर से महिलाओं की स्थितियां भी ऐसी थी कि उनको फिर से एक अपना परमानेंट रेजिडेंट सर्टिफिकेट एक बार उनको रिन्यूअल करना पड़ता था विवाह के बाद। तो ये सारी स्थितियां हट जाएंगी। और सबसे बड़ी बात यह है कि संपूर्ण भारत का जो कानून है, जो दंड आईपीसी, सीआरपीसी और जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के जो हमारे क्लॉजेज हैं वो लागू होंगे, और वो कलंक भी खत्म हो जाएगा। जब हम कभी कोई भी हम अमेंडमेंट पास करते थे, कोई कानून बनाते थे और कहते थे कि उसका संपूर्ण भारत पर अधिकार क्षेत्र होगा सिवाय जम्मू कश्मीर के, तो वो भी स्थितियां बदलेंगी। और निश्चित तौर से अगर देखें तो 1947 में अगर देश का एकीकरण हुआ था, तो आज देश के अखंडता और एकता में कश्मीर एक सिरमौर की तरह जुड़ा है, और वास्तविक अर्थों में देश का एकीकरण अब जाकर कंप्लीट हुआ है। मुनमुन,
Absolutely. So historic decisions taken by the government of India, and like you're saying, integration of Jammu, Kashmir and Ladakh with the Union of India will now be complete, with the Lok Sabha also likely to pass the resolutions and the bills today. Well, let's go to Shailendra, who's covering the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha proceedings. Shailendra, did we see a point-by-point rebuttal by Union Home Minister Amit Shah when various arguments were made by opposition leaders with regard to legal validity of the bills and resolutions moved by him with regard to J&K?
बिल्कुल, हम जानते हैं कि जो खासतौर पर इस बिल की लेकर जो संवैधानिकता को लेकर जो सवाल उठाए गए थे, उसका जवाब कल देखने को मिला कि राज्यसभा में भी गृह मंत्री अमित शाह ने दिया और कहा कि दरअसल वो जानते हैं कि अपोजिशन के पास एनजीओ की एक टीम है और कुछ लोग जरूर उसको इस पर जो है सवाल उठाने की कोशिश करेंगे। उस बात की बहुत चिंता न करे विपक्ष, चूँकि पूरा ध्यान रखकर संसद को पूरा अधिकार है और उसी के मद्देनजर ये विधेयक लाया गया है। तो निश्चित तौर पर जिस तरह से कांग्रेस पार्टी ने जो रुख अपनाया है राज्यसभा में चर्चा के दौरान देखने को मिला और अब लोकसभा में चर्चा के दौरान देखने को मिला, उस पर न केवल बीजेपी सवाल उठा रही है बल्कि कांग्रेस के अंदर भी सवाल उठ रहे हैं। जनार्दन द्विवेदी जो वरिष्ठ नेता है कांग्रेस पार्टी के, उन्होंने इसे ऐतिहासिक भूल करार दिया है कांग्रेस पार्टी के रुख को। कई और नेता भी दरअसल कांग्रेस पार्टी के रुख को लेकर सवाल उठा रहे हैं कांग्रेस के नेता। और अधीर रंजन चौधरी जो कांग्रेस के नेता हैं लोकसभा में, उन्होंने जिस तरह से सरकार से सवाल पूछा और ये कहा कि बताएं कि किस तरह से ये पूरा मामला जम्मू कश्मीर का जो मामला है आंतरिक मामला है, उसको लेकर बीजेपी ने ये एक तरह से बीजेपी के तमाम नेताओं ने सवाल उठाया और कहा कि कांग्रेस को ये बताना चाहिए कि क्या ये कांग्रेस पार्टी का आधिकारिक स्टैंड है। एक तरह से कांग्रेस से सीधा सवाल बीजेपी के नेता इस बारे में पूछ रहे हैं। और हम जानते हैं कि कांग्रेस के सदन में अपनाए गए रुख को लेकर तमाम न केवल एनडीए के जो सहयोगी दल हैं वो सवाल उठा रहे हैं, बल्कि चर्चा के दौरान ये देखने को मिल रहा है कि जिस तरह से एनडीए से इतर जाकर अगर हम जानते हैं कि जेडीयू को अगर छोड़ दें जो एक तरह से विरोध में है, एनडीए से इतर तमाम दलों ने समर्थन किया है, चाहे बीजेडी हो, एआईडीएमके हो, आम आदमी पार्टी हो या फिर बहुजन समाज पार्टी हो। तो एक तरह से बड़ा समर्थन भी सरकार को जम्मू कश्मीर को लेकर इस फैसले और जो विधेयक लेकर आई है उसको मिलता हुआ दिखाई दे रहा है। और कांग्रेस के रुख को लेकर लगातार सवाल पूछे जा रहे हैं। जिस तरह से अधीर रंजन चौधरी ने जो बात कही वो दरअसल बीजेपी की तरफ से कहा जा रहा है कि बहुत दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण है और कांग्रेस को यह सफाई देनी चाहिए कि क्या उसका यह आधिकारिक स्टैंड है। जी मुनमुन।
Absolutely, Shailendra. Thank you for having joined us, and thanks to Ashwini as well as Ramesh also for joining us with the reactions from Jammu and Ladakh. Well, let's continue our conversation of the importance of the historic decisions taken by the government with regard to Jammu and Kashmir, especially with regard to the partial abrogation of Article 370, the process for which is underway in Parliament. Mr. Rajagopalan, your thoughts on the main objective behind the government's decision to partially abrogate Article 370. Will it usher in peace, security, development and prosperity in Jammu and Kashmir?
Of course,
and
it is
Ladakh?
going to development and devolution are going to be the important aspects of this 370, abrogation of 370, and it is going to end the militancy in Jammu and Kashmir. Kashmir is except the 6 or 7 districts, madam, the Kashmir militancy is more concentrated on those places. Now, with this type of making it as a union territory, central government will have a direct control over that places. So, now this decision of 370 abrogation creates an atmosphere, a peaceful atmosphere for everyone. In Central Hall of Parliament today, I am coming from there to the studio, where you can see the faces of BJP MPs, because they are all saying that 40 years of our struggle has come true today, because Shyama Prasad Mukherjee, Deen Dayal Upadhyaya, even Ram Manohar Lohia as a Socialist Party MP and a member of the Assembly mentioned in this Parliament against this 370. So, even Socialist Parties members are also happy with that. Yesterday, Janardhan Dwivedi, today, even Congress MPs are also supporting this partially. There is a Congress division in this, strong division of opinion in the Congress. My understanding is, Mr. Narendra Modi's decision to go in for a kill on 370 is to exploit the division in the opposition and also ensure that differences in the Congress is also exploited by the ruling party, because Congress is divided. Today, Mr. Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary spoke, Sonia Gandhi pulled him up, even everyone saw that in public glare. So, therefore, there are certain amount of plus and minus, but at the same time, again, the UPA one during that, when 370 was also to be discussed during Dr. Manmohan Singh's time, he did not take it seriously, but Narendra Modi took it seriously. If you remember, during Narendra Modi 1, he was concentrating on northeastern provinces. Narendra Modi 2, he started with Jammu and Kashmir. So, he is giving importance to the border states. Then development plus devolution of powers in Ladakh, in some areas of Jammu Kashmir is going to create very important decision. In another 3 months to 6 months, you wait and watch how administration is going to be geared up and direct control by the Union Home Ministry, and there will be a strong amount of a satisfaction among the people, a joy will be there among these people, because they are getting permanent residency, those who are having permanent residency status in Jammu and Kashmir plus other places, they are going to have a freedom from today onwards.
Absolutely.
Once
How
the
do you
Lok Sabha
look
passes
at the
this
stand of
resolution,
the opposition, including the PDP, the National Conference and the Congress? Because while trying to demolish the arguments of the Congress party today, we heard what Union Home Minister Amit Shah had to say. He said that presidential orders with regard to JNK were issued during the Congress regimes in 1952 and 1965 as well. And 1952 to change the name Maharaja into Sadre Riyasat, and then in 1965 to change the name Sadre Riyasat into Governor. So he pointed out those instances when presidential orders were issued during the Congress regimes with regard to decisions on JNK. Besides that, we know how the PDP MPs had behaved, tearing a copy of the Constitution in the upper house yesterday, and the National Conference leader also is crying foul.
of course, you know, yesterday the scene in Rajya Sabha was very bad, and even chairman of Rajya Sabha Venkaiah Naidu pulled up the 2 MPs, and then there is definitely an anger because government took everyone by surprise. Even the members of parliament, they were all surprised when this resolution was moved by Mr. Amit Shah. That type of, you know, yet cardboard political decision taken by Narendra Modi. Again and again one has to emphasize on that. Plus it has got of political, diplomatic, regional, international, national repercussions on this. Take for instance, madam, last week alone, after meeting Pakistan Prime Minister Mr. Trump, Donald Trump, the US President, said that he is ready to mediate. But today, this 370 abrogation is a tight political slap on the US President. The way in which the government of India approached this US. So you have to see that at the international level also, national level. Because
the US State Department has issued a
Jammu
statement which many are seeing as an implicit support for the stand that India has taken, because it simply says that it notes the decision and does not make any mention of Pakistan.
Yes, what you said is absolutely correct. And second thing, September 28th, when Prime Minister goes to UN, he is going to get a heroic reception because he has taken this hardcore decision. Now Pakistan is neutralized. He cannot claim that Jammu Kashmir issue repeatedly. Every Pakistan Prime Minister who goes to UN General Assembly, he is going to touch upon this Jammu Kashmir. But this time there is no mention of Jammu Kashmir in the UN Assembly because political decision of Mr. Narendra Modi was so tight and, you know, giving a sort of breathing space for Indian diplomacy. That is the reason why even now if you put the dots and connect the dots, as Mr. Narendra Modi chosen Mr. Jaishankar as an astute diplomat, a career diplomat as Minister of External Affairs, does have some importance, because whenever the diplomat is having a foreign side, interactions, he is going to explain about the India stand on 370, why they have done this type of a far-reaching political decision.
Absolutely. Envoys of the P5 countries in Delhi were briefed by Foreign Secretary Vijay Gokhale, and of course the entire exercise has been led by External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar. That goes without saying. Thank you, Mr. Rajagopalan, for having joined us on Midday Prime. General Officer Commanding in Chief, Northern Command, Lieutenant General Ranbir Singh, reviewed the security arrangements in the Kashmir Valley. He chaired a meeting of the core group of intelligence and security agencies at Srinagar to review the operational readiness to meet any contingency that could adversely impact the security situation. According to a press release issued by Udhampur-based army officials, Lieutenant General Singh also said necessary security arrangements have been put in place to ensure peace and security. Pakistan has intensified its efforts at increasing the strength of terrorists in launch pads along the LOC over the past few days and pushing infiltrators into Jammu and Kashmir. Indian Army has given a befitting response to Pakistan, thwarting their nefarious designs of causing disturbance in our country, he said. The Supreme Court has commenced a daily hearing in the politically sensitive Ayodhya land title dispute case after its efforts to arrive at an amicable settlement through mediation failed. The bench, also comprising Justices S.A. Bobde and D.Y. Chandrachud, Ashok Bhushan and S.A. Nazir, had on the 2nd of August taken note of the report of the 3-member mediation panel headed by former Apex Court Judge F.M.I. Kalifullah that the mediation proceedings, which went on for about 4 months, have not resulted in any final settlement. The Apex Court asked Nirmohi Akhara to confine its arguments to the civil dispute. Chief Justice of India Ranjan Gogoi has said hearing of the arguments will not be curtailed in any manner. The lawyer of the Unnao rape survivor who suffered critical injuries in a car truck collision last week was airlifted to New Delhi on Tuesday following Supreme Court's directives in this regard. The lawyer was not on ventilator but was still in a serious condition and still in coma. The rape survivor was on Monday airlifted through an air ambulance. The victim and her lawyer suffered critical injuries on 28th July when the car in which they and others were travelling was hit by a truck in Raebareli. Two of her relatives were killed in the accident. A Delhi court on Tuesday sought a status report from the CBI on steps taken to ensure security of the Unnao rape survivor, her family and witnesses. District Judge Dharmesh Sharma also sought a report on the boarding and lodging arrangements made for the family members accompanying the critically injured woman who was shifted to Delhi on Monday night for better treatment. The court is holding day-to-day trial in the case as per the directions of the Supreme Court. And in Midday Prime, it's time for news and updates from the world of business. My colleague Nancy Kohli joins us now with the Business Prime. It's over to you, Nancy.
Thanks, Munmun. Yes, all the business news. Well, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has said that the government planned the steps to improve the state of the economy fairly quickly after getting inputs from business leaders. The government has been meeting the industry executives and will take steps to address the challenges facing the economy after a series of meetings this week. The government will also soon hold discussions with the representatives of the foreign portfolio investors amid continuing overseas fund outflow from the markets following decision to impose surcharge on certain class of these investors. And the Finance Ministry has also said that the banks have agreed to take steps to review lending rates as they have not transmitted to the borrowers the benefits of reduction in the policy rate by the central bank. And since December last year, the monetary policy has been eased substantially by the Reserve Bank of India, with the policy rate being cut by 75 basis points and the policy outlook being changed to accommodative. And while this was said after the meeting that took place between the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman and the heads of the public sector banks as well as the private lenders including HDFC, the ICICI, Axis Bank, Kotak Mahindra Bank and the Citibank. And to protect consumers' interests, the centre has proposed guidelines for e-commerce firms that entail a 14-day deadline to effect refund request, mandate e-retailers to display details of the sellers supplying goods and services on their websites, and also move the procedure to resolve the consumer complaints. The Consumer Affairs Ministry has sought views of stakeholders on the draft guidelines on e-commerce by 16 September. The government is planning to come out with a national commerce policy to facilitate achieving holistic growth of the sector. And with that, it's a wrap on all the business news. It's back to you for the rest of the news, Munmun.
Thanks, Nancy, for that. And now a look at what's making news across the globe. Today is the 74th anniversary of the Hiroshima atomic bombing that has decimated the city entirely. It was on 6th August 1945 when the United States had attacked and dropped a nuclear bomb on Japan's Hiroshima that had killed nearly 140,000 people, and 3 days later Nagasaki was bombed, killing nearly 70,000 people before Japan surrendered, marking the end of the Second World War. Japan was the only country that suffered the nuclear devastation in the war. People of Hiroshima, along with Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, offered a flower wreath at cenotaph, followed by students ringing peace bell. Survivors, their relatives and other participants marked the blast with a minute of silence. Hiroshima is now a beautiful city resurrected from the ruins of the post-war period and giving a message to the world to become free of nuclear weapons. And that's it that we have for you in Midday Prime, but we'll keep you updated about the major story that's playing out in Lok Sabha as the House debates for J&K proposals. Keep watching DD India and DD News.